Hi everyone, thank you for attending our virtual dental shadower session today. We want to remind you that we will not be having a quiz tonight. All right, let's get started. We are very fortunate to have Raina today for today's session. I'm handing the mic over to you. Feel free to start whenever you'd like.
Hi, my name is Raina, and thank you for having me today. I go to Texas A&M College of Dentistry, and I'm a D2. So a little background about me. I went to Texas A&M University. I got my degree in Biomedical Science and a minor in psychology. I then attended the University of North Texas Health Science Center and got my master's degree. And now I am in dental school as a D2. And so a little background, more background info. I just kind of wanted to put my timeline here for everybody. I'm not going to exactly read through it, but some things about me are that I was a reapplicant to dental school. So I applied twice. The first time I applied, I ended up getting waitlisted, and then I ended up applying again, and then I got accepted to multiple schools, which was really cool. And so during that time, there's a big, a lot of, I guess, gap year transition time. So in between submitting my application and eventually getting accepted, I went to graduate school and I worked full time at a dental office. And so I just kind of wanted to throw this out here because I don't know, I feel like sometimes we have this perfect plan. Okay, we're going to graduate college, go straight to dental school and go straight to a job, et cetera. But it's not always that linear timeline like you really expected it to be, and that's okay. And so there's a different path for everyone. Oh my gosh, my dog in the background. There's a different path for everyone, and no matter what your path is, it's gonna be okay, and you're gonna get to where you need to go. And so tips for taking the DAT. I took the DAT, I feel like forever ago. I took it back in 2018. But I think a big thing for taking the DAT is deciding when's best for you to take the DAT. So for example, it was really hard for me to study for the DAT while in school. I tried, and then I kept on just getting distracted because yes, you're studying for the DAT, but also I'm studying for this OCHEM test or this physiology test. And so I kind of got really overwhelmed by that. And some people can do that, and I think that's great. I mean, you should if you can, but for me, that didn't work. So I ended up taking it at a time when I wasn't in school and I could fully focus. I think I studied over 8 hours a day for over a 2-month period, and that worked for me. This is kind of personal, but really try to learn your sciences while you're in school so you aren't having to relearn them. I think for some of my science classes, they were frustrating to me and difficult, and I just wanted to get through them. So I ended up studying for the test in undergrad instead of really learning it. And so that was a little bit harder for me whenever I went back to study for the DAT because I had to actually relearn everything. Another thing is take practice tests early. I think a lot of people in the health field are perfectionists and they want to do really great, but you have to start taking practice tests early before you think you're quote unquote ready to start getting those repetition in, learning what you don't know. So don't wait until a week or 2 weeks before to start taking practice tests. Start taking them early. Another thing is make a schedule and let the people around you know that you'll be sticking to it. And so for me, it was, okay, I'll be studying 8 hours a day. I can do maybe a few social things while I'm studying for it, but not every day. And so the people who would consistently ask me to hang out, hey, just for these 2 months, I can't go to lunch or go do things as much on the weekends and stuff, because this is a time that it's really important for me to do well on this so I don't have to retake it. And just letting people know their expectations, but you can still love them well and be good friends with them. And then just let people know what you're doing. Sorry. Also just give it your best, but know that the DAT is not the end all be all. There's so many different parts to your application that the admissions committees will be looking at. So yes, do very well on it. You're going to do great, but just know that it's not the only thing. So maybe if you are below average on a subject or even below average on something, it's not like you can't get into dental school anymore. You still can get into dental school and you're still going to do great. Advice on staying motivated. So remind yourself of your why. why do you want to go to dental school? Whenever you get discouraged and you're alone in the library studying, or you just feel like everyone's maybe ahead of yourself. Why? Is it because like you want to have that financial freedom one day? Don't say that to applications committee, but be able to provide for your family one day? Is it because you want to help people smile? You want to have them like have a less anxious experience in the dental office because you want to serve people? Just keep on reminding yourself, whatever that is, whenever things get tough, why you're doing this. Another thing is it's good to learn from your peers, but don't get caught up in comparing yourself to others. So for example, people will ask like DAT scores or like test scores and stuff. Don't get caught up in always comparing yourself to what others are doing. There's not only like one set of straight A students who get in, or one set of people who make really, really high grades. And so just like if you're asking people their scores or they're willing to share them with you, just know that just because maybe they did better than you doesn't mean you're not going to get in. But also just kind of think about like why you are asking people questions. Are you asking them just for comparison's sake? Or are you asking them because, hey, maybe you did do better than me? What can I do to get there? Like, help me. And I think that's just like a good mindset to have. Another thing, I kind of went over this, but talk to your close family and friends and let them know like what you need to be supported. And so, for example, like in dental school, I don't have much time in the nights or the weekends to talk on the phone a lot. Like during undergrad, I would always talk to my mom on the phone. And now like I have to let her know like I still love her, but like at this time, like I can't spend so much time talking on the phone because it's so important for me to succeed right now. And then that in the future, like leads to less controversy and stuff because they understand where you're coming from. Another thing is having accountability. And you can look at this in so many different ways. But if you're the kind of person who maybe says, I'm going to study 5-8 hours today, and then something happens and then you end up studying for 2, have that person who's like not afraid to tell you like, hey, you really want this. Like, this is a time that you're going to have to make sacrifices. Like, you can do this. Like, you don't need to like go to the movies tonight or go swimming. And just like have those people who are going to keep you accountable. Another thing is whenever I was struggling in undergrad for a while, I had a professor that I would talk to. And I got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to tell you every grade that I make on my test from here on out. So every few weeks I would meet with my professor and I would tell him, this is what I made on this test, and this test. And that was a really big game changer for me because if I made a bad grade, I couldn't just keep it secret. Like I had to tell someone. And if I made a bad grade, he would say, okay, now what can you do to get better? Why did this happen? And so I think it's really good to have someone who's going to keep you accountable. Another thing going off of that is, I know in dental school, a lot of the people who didn't succeed right away, they kind of kept to themselves and like stayed isolated. And so don't isolate yourself. Surround yourself with people who are going to motivate you and keep you accountable. And last point on that, when you're feeling tired, rest before you get burnt out. I heard this analogy one time. Whenever you're hungry, that's your body telling you to eat. So what do? You eat to give yourself nutrition, energy. And so when you're feeling tired, rest. That's your body telling you that you need that rest. Like if you were hungry, you wouldn't just starve yourself and just keep on going. So the same. So whenever you're feeling tired, just feel free to rest and listen to your body. Community service. So I just listed some of the community service that I did, but I think it's important to highlight that there are some dental related things on here, but not everything is dental related. So I think it's important to do dental related community service, but also find things that you really enjoy. At your applications or your interviews, you're going to have to talk about this stuff. So it's easier to talk about stuff that you really enjoy than saying you did something random on the weekend that you just did for an application. And they can really see that like whenever you did stuff because you thought it would look good, or whenever you did stuff because you really cared. And like I said, I had, I guess you call it 2 gap years where I did master's degree and work in between. But I think during undergrad, it was really easy to have those service opportunities, easier than it was after undergrad, because you're in, while you're in school, you're in organizations, and these organizations are saying, oh, volunteer here, volunteer here. So they're like, okay, I'll sign up for this. I'll sign up for this. But after undergrad, you really have to look for things. And so it was really important for me, even when I wasn't in school, to keep on volunteering. And so one of the things that I did after undergrad was Texas Mission University, and it's where they set up a free dental clinic, and they go to different places around Texas. And so after undergrad, I did one in Texarkana and one in El Paso. Texarkana was about 3 hours away from where I live, and El Paso is 10 hours. So there's a picture of me and my parents. I told my parents that I was going to go volunteer, do a free dental clinic in El Paso. And my parents were like, you are not driving 10 hours by yourself to El Paso. Like, no way. And so they said, okay, you know what? We'll take off of work and we'll go with you. I think it'll be fun. And it was a really rewarding experience because I got to do volunteer work and serve the Texas community with my family. And so my mom is actually a dental assistant. She works for an oral surgeon. And so she got to do assisting. And my dad has no like dental experience besides going to the dentist. He has no relation to the dental field. And so he got to check people in, and he helped people with their paperwork and stuff. And it was just really rewarding. And so that was one of the experiences that I feel like I don't know, it just showed me that like you can like do things like with your family. And it kind of showed me like how I want to live my life, like not just even serving by myself, but like serving the community with my family. And so that was something, anyways, that I really enjoyed. And I hope that y'all can find something like that whenever you are at your interview, you're able to talk about like why you liked it and what it meant to you. Choosing dental schools. So I was always told that the best dental school is the one that accepts you. And I think that's very true. Yes, like there's different ranks and everything, but really like the best one is the one that accepts you, and go all in. With that being said, there are some things that were important to me. So for me, where did I want to live? There's some people that want to go on like an adventure, like live somewhere else in a different state for a few years. And all of that's great. They want to live by the beach or live by the mountains or up north. But for me, I wanted to live in a place that I wanted to settle down. I wanted to meet dentists in the area and network with people who I was going to be living with for a long time. I wanted to get involved in a church and get involved in service organizations in a city where I wanted to plant my family. And so that was really important to me. Curriculum and clinical exposure is something else that's important. And so all the schools have different obviously curriculums and clinical exposures. I know for our dental school, Texas A&M, you are exposed to the clinic the very first semester. You aren't doing procedures, but we have what it's called is group practices. So a D1, D2, D3, and D4 are all paired together for 4 years. And whenever I was assigned to go to the clinic as a D1 once a month, every month, once a month. And so whatever my D3 or D4 was doing, I would just tag along. I would assist them. They let me do like a few like very basic things and stuff. But the whole point of it is just getting your like feet in there early. So then by the time you're doing real procedures, you're not worried, where are the gloves? Where's this? You just like feel comfortable in that setting as a dental provider. Another important thing is the national board pass rate. And so not every school has the best pass rates, but you want a school definitely with high pass rates. Like you're wanting to go to a school that is teaching the curriculum and teaching the curriculum well in order for you to succeed and get your license to become a dentist. Cost is another big one. I know that the most expensive school that I got accepted to was about $500,000 total. And then A&M, it's about 120 to 150 depending on cost of living and stuff. And that's like really, really good. And so even for out of state, how much it costs at Texas A&M is still much, much less expensive than in-state at a lot of other schools. And so I don't know, like a lot of people say, oh, if I'm out of state, should I even try applying there? I say definitely yes. So all the Texas schools are required to take 90% in-state students, but that still leaves room for other students as well. So I know many people from out of state who are in my class, and don't take my word for it, but I'm pretty sure almost all of them actually have the in-state scholarship, which is really good. So it's definitely worth looking into. What a typical day is like. So I put an example D1 fall and spring schedule, and I put an example D2 summer schedule. In the fall and spring, you are pretty much in class 8 to 5 almost every single day. And it's very didactic heavy. We are in sim lab every week, still doing like waxing and practicing filling and drilling on the typodonts. But your first year, you're taking your anatomy, physiology, biochem, microbiology, pathology, just so many like heavy classes. And so it was a difficult year, but it's doable. And then to reward us for our very difficult year, for the summer, the D2s only have half days, which is so nice. And we are on Mondays, we have classes. And then in the mornings from 8 to 9, we have didactic classes. But from 9 to 12, we have sim lab. So it is a lot of sim lab, which is really great because it's preparing us to eventually be in the clinic with patients. And then what a typical semester is like. So if you look at the example D1 schedule, I believe if you look at the one that says 604, it has a little 1 by it. And that means that those classes continue into the next semester. So the first semester taking about 26 hours, but then in the spring semester, those classes continue over. So you're still taking about 25 to 30 hours. And I think the biggest difference between undergrad and going into dental school schedule is I think I was taking like 15, maybe 17 hours, and that would end up being maybe like 2 classes a day. I never in undergrad had class from 8 to 5 every day. So with that being said, you are really having to manage your time to study. You can't study between 8 to 5 because that's when you have classes. So you have to figure out a good study schedule after school or on the weekends. And my big thing was on the weekends. So every Saturday and Sunday, I was putting in 8 to 10 hours, and it was very difficult. But like I said, very doable. And I'm so glad I got through it. So like eventually, like I can have this great career. And I think that is it. I kind of went through fast, but if y'all have any questions, let me know.
Thank you so much, Raina, for taking the time to talk to us about your journey. It's truly appreciated, and I know that I learned a lot from your presentation. So we do have a few questions. I'm just gonna load them up and ask you.
Sounds good.
The first question is, how do you deal with stress or manage work and life balance?
Yeah, so this is a good question. And so for me, how work-life balance, I kind of had to decide my priorities. And so I am married, and so I say like, okay, my husband is my first priority. And so therefore, every night we make sure to have dinner together. And so that's like my like sweet time, like with him every night having dinner together, but also like communicating with him like, hey, like I have big tests coming up. So like besides dinner, like I probably won't be able to like watch TV tonight because I have to study. And so that was just like a big thing, is communicating with like the people closest to you, like what you need from them and like how they can help you. Another thing was I made sure to do something fun like every weekend. And so whether or not it was 1 hour, 2 hours, or the whole day, I was like, I am going to do something fun because it gets very lonely. And so, well, it can get lonely if you're just studying by yourself for 8 to 10 hours a day on the weekends. So I told myself every Friday night or every Saturday night, I'm going to do something fun, whether or not it's just dinner with my friends or maybe going like to bowling or playing tennis or pickleball or something like that. But just like making it your priority is like very important to manage that work-life balance.
Yeah, for sure. So the second question is, what is the class size and what is the pros and cons of the class size?
So our class size is about 106 people. And the pros about having our class size is in SimLab, we're split up into A day and B day. So there's only 50 people in SimLab at a time. And that's really nice because each professor in SimLab is assigned to about 10 or 12 people. And so you are like getting that time with your professor. And that's like really, really nice. We haven't been in person with like regular classes very much, so I can't like attest to that. But I think in SimLab, with our class size, I never felt like I couldn't get a professor's advice or had to wait in long lines or anything like that. So that was really nice.
Mm-hmm. What is the learning format there?
The learning format. Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what that means, but I can kind of explain some of the classes.
Here, I'll just elaborate on it. Like, is it problem-based learning or is it more traditional learning?
Okay, so I would say it's more traditional learning, but is problem-based learning where they give you scenarios?
Yeah, like when they give you scenarios and you have to come up with solutions to it.
Yes. So both. Most classes are traditional, but we do have classes where we are having to do like problem-based, where they give you a scenario, and they're doing a lot of, since we were online, like Zoom breakout sessions. I think we would have them probably every 2 to 3 weeks. We'd have one class where, based on what we learned, we would go into Zoom breakout sessions and say, okay, we just learned about the physiology behind diabetes. And so then we would have to apply that. Okay, a patient comes in with type 1 diabetes and this, and this happens. Like, how do you handle it? Or what gives the clue? What kind of medications are you looking for, et cetera? So we definitely have that. It's definitely not the majority though. But yeah, and then on our test, like most of it is multiple choice, and most of it your first year is like straight didactic, kind of preparing you for the boards, except since they changed the boards, they're changing a lot of the problem sets to be more patient scenarios. So our school is like, they're continuously changing the curriculum. So like one for the boards, but two just to get better. And so we just like are the second class to go through this new curriculum. And so even for our new curriculum, this wasn't exactly the question, but our classes are, oh my goodness, I can't think of the word, but like our classes are grouped together. And so you don't just take one histology test, one physiology test, one pathology test. Like on our exam, if you learned about the kidneys, you learn, like the exam has the histology of the kidneys, the physiology of the kidneys, the biology, the microbiology, and everything. And so that's kind of how it's designed with our curriculum, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that makes sense. What can we expect to do in the clinic, and when does the clinic start? Clinical rotations.
Okay. So your first year, you are assigned a group practice. And so your first year, once a month, you go to the clinic, but you're not doing procedures yet. You're mainly assisting and just kind of shadowing and helping out. And then your second year, you go to the clinic more and you're still assisting. But we had like our pre-clinical labs. So in pre-clinical labs, D1 year, we did extra-oral exams. We did perio probing, polishing teeth, etc. And then in your second year in preclinical, you learn to give injections, and then in sim lab you're doing all your filling, drilling, filling, crown prep, etc. And then in the very beginning of your third year in the summer is whenever you actually get real patients and are actually start doing fillings on your real patients. And then in the middle of third year, that's when you start doing crown preps, root canals, and you start doing extractions before that. But so the beginning of your third year is your really like intense dentistry stuff. But the years before that, you're getting prepared and you're watching the D3s and the D4s work and stuff. So that's kind of how it's laid out.
Okay, then the next question is, what is the faculty to student ratio?
So I'm not sure the exact numbers, but like I said, in sim lab, I would say it's about 1 to 12. And then in our didactic classes, the way it works is every professor that is teaching is an expert on that subject. So you don't just have one professor teaching the whole entire semester. It's like you might have 5 lectures in one day and have 5 different professors. And so you're learning from like all these different experts in their field. And so, I mean, it's good for office hours. Not everyone's just going to one professor's office hours. You get to choose who you want to go to, or if you're reviewing your test, you can choose like, hey, maybe this person I can relate to more, or maybe this person I missed a lot of their questions, so I need to go see them. And so that's kind of how it works at our school.
Okay. So what is the hardest class so far?
The hardest class so far for me was definitely, we called it physiology because it was mainly physiology, but we took it our second semester. Let me see. It was human structure, function, and disease 2, 9.5 credit hours. And basically, I kind of like hinted at it, but like each test was a different like organ system. And so there was one on cardiovascular, one on respiratory, just like everything. And so it was really difficult just because it goes at such a like faster pace than undergrad, plus everything at the same time. And so we had a test every 2 weeks, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. And like you couldn't get behind, because if you didn't learn like what was before, it kind of like built on each other for the next exam. And that was pretty difficult, but I made it through. All is good, but that was definitely the most difficult class for sure.
And just adding on to that, what did you not expect going into dental school?
I definitely like knew it was going to be difficult, but I didn't know how. And so one thing that I didn't expect was like how mentally hard it was. And so for me, like, yeah, you can say, oh, someone like studied 8 to 10 hours like on a Saturday and Sunday for the whole semester. But like what that really meant was like I was alone for 8 to 10 hours every Saturday and Sunday from August all the way until May. And I think that just like takes a toll on you. And just like learning like what fills you up and what gives you joy and what's really worth it. So I think just like the mental like drain and like the mental toll that it took on me was probably more difficult than any class. But with that being said, like even though I like to study alone, during my classes, I made sure that like to make friends, and like you can talk about like your difficulties, and it's not necessarily complaining, but just having those people who be like, oh my goodness, this is really hard and it sucks, but like we're in this together and it's gonna all work out. But yeah, just like the mental like toll behind it was the most difficult.
Mm-hmm. For sure. So a viewer in the YouTube live chat has asked, did you change anything in your application the second time you applied?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And so for me, the second time I applied, the big difference was getting my master's degree. If I looked at my application, the weakness was definitely at the beginning of my college career, my science classes and the grades weren't where they needed to be. And so I looked at it and said, okay, that's my weak point. I'm going to take these classes at a master's level and I'm going to do really well in them. So I ended up doing really well in them. And that kind of showed the application committee, like, hey, even though she didn't do well 3 or 4 years ago, now she did and she's capable. A lot of people ask me if I retook the DAT. I didn't retake the DAT because thank goodness I took that at the end of my college career and I did well on it. So some people are like, oh, I didn't get it and I have to retake the DAT. If that was one of your weak points, yes, for sure, retake it. If it wasn't, you don't necessarily have to. So just like looking at your application, it's like saying, okay, what was my weak point? And if you can't do that, having someone else look at it, having someone else, if you know someone in the field, if you know someone who's in dental school, or if you just someone who's going through the process with you, looking at it and saying, these are my weak points and this is what I'm willing to fix. And I'm going to have to make sacrifices to do it. But I really want to be here in dental school. And so I'm going to do it.
Okay. The second question is, where can we find the pass rate for dental schools? Is it often advertised on their site?
Yeah, I just Googled it. I literally searched in Texas A&M College of Dentistry, dental boards or dental licensure pass rate, and I found it. And so I think, I wouldn't say they have to, but I think most schools have to give out all their stats. So even with that, like before I looked up all the stats. So you can even see the stats of all the incoming, like dental students. I know y'all probably have resources for that anyways, but yeah, just Google it and it's all there. And that was like something that was really important to me, like I said, because you want that school that's going to prepare you to pass. I mean, getting in is one thing and that's a huge accomplishment, but you still have to pass your boards.
Okay, so another question is, are exams graded on a pass or fail, or do you get a letter grade?
Exams are letter grades, and I know some schools do pass or fail and they don't do class ranks, but all of ours are letter grades. It's traditional, and we do have class ranks. A passing score is a 75 or above. If you get below a 75, it's a fail. Some classes you get to retake it. Some classes you don't, and most of the classes that you don't get to retake it, it's because it's at such a fast pace. And if you were retaking it from before, then you'll miss all the material on the next test that's already come up. I know if for all your clinical work, if you fail that, you have to retake that because that you have to know that in order to move on. But yes, it's traditional number score, except 75 is the cutoff.
I'm sorry, my connection froze. Okay,
No
so the
worries.
very last question is, what do you wish you knew before you invested your time and money into dental school?
What do I wish I knew before I invested my time and money into dental school? Like if there was something I didn't know. I mean, in all honesty, like it's really hard. And it's a lot of time and a lot of money, but I don't think that there's anything that like, if I would have known, it would have changed things. Like for me, I'm very confident in my decision. Like I want to be a dentist. I want to serve people to the best of my ability. Like I want this so bad. So even if I would have got accepted to a school that was $500,000, like I still would have done it. I know it's really hard to pay off, like, but it's still worth it. I know that like I'm going to have to sacrifice like I've missed people's weddings. I've missed just going out to coffee with people. I've missed church events. I've missed seeing my family. But at the end of the day, I want this so bad. And there's probably nothing I would have could have known to change that. And also I don't know, I see people in careers where they're just not satisfied, but they're like, oh, I still have to do it because I have to make money. You know, it's the way the world goes around. Like, I want a job that like I really love, and like I want a job that I'm satisfied and just enjoy every day. So I don't think there's anything that like I could have known that would really change anything. Like it's hard, but so worth it.
Okay, we just have one more question that popped up. So you mentioned that you had previous experience of being a dental assistant and working in their office. How did you get to that?
Yes. So I have worked in two offices. The first office I started working at when I was 18. And so my mom was a dental assistant. And she said, okay, Raina, if you want to go to dental school, like you need to come in my office with me. And I was like, Mom, like I can't do that. But luckily she worked for a really great dentist who they let me come in, and they taught me everything. Like I got to do it all, and they trained me to be a dental assistant. So starting my senior year of high school, during winter break, I went in, and then every summer after that for the next 3 summers and breaks. So that was through someone I knew. But for the second one, I worked in a dental office in my gap year. And for that one, also, I'm a photographer. And so I was doing photography, and I had a client who I didn't know before. But, you talk to people. And I was like, yeah, for my master's program, I have to do a preceptorship. So I'm looking for a dentist to do that for. And the person's mom who I was taking their pictures was like, oh my goodness, I know the nicest dentist. Like you need to reach out to them and like see if they'll let you do your preceptorship there. And I was like, okay, like, I don't know. Cause it's just kind of hard going to asking a random person. But I ended up reaching out to them. They were so kind. They let me come in, and they said, come in, let's see if it works out. If it works out, then you can finish your preceptorship and it all will be great. So I ended up going in. We really meshed well together, and it was 2 men, and they let me finish my preceptorship there. Love them both. Then they ended up asking me to work there. And so they said, we need someone to work here. Like, we think you would be great. And so I was like, really like blessed to have that. So I ended up working there. But I think like the important thing about that story is like, if you really like love something, like you'll end up talking about it a lot. And then you end up networking. Like this was just a stranger who reached out to me to take their pictures. And so I was taking senior pictures and ended up talking about dentistry because I love dentistry. Someone knows someone who knows someone. And so just them telling me that name got me into my job, which is crazy. So don't be afraid to talk about what you love. And not every conversation is going to lead to that, but you never know.
Yeah, for sure. And so that was our very last question. Thank you so much, Raina, for taking the time to talk to us today. And to everyone else, I just want to remind you that we will not have a quiz at the end of the session. Have a great day.